The Curse of Oak Island Garden Shaft. What has the Fellowship found so far, and will they continue excavating? The Curse of Oak Island Season 11 was primarily centered around the mysterious garden shaft and the guys' attempts to excavate it and determine its purpose. Unfortunately, the Fellowship's efforts to excavate this shaft were beset with setbacks, and at times it was frankly painful to watch. All work came to a crushing halt after the shaft was flooded toward the end of Season 11. The shaft was deemed unstable, and the whole project was put on the back burner. So, what do we know about the garden shaft, and what have the Lagina brothers learned? The garden shaft was an 82-foot deep structure discovered by the team in the Money Pit area in 2017. The guys initially believed it to be an 18th-century searcher tunnel, so they ignored it and installed a nice garden around the entrance. All that changed in Season 10 with two fundamental discoveries. The first was the discovery of a high concentration of precious metals in underground water samples from the nearby Baby Blob. The second was the revelation that a 95-foot deep tunnel appeared to lead from the garden shaft to the Baby Blob. The Oak Island Garden Shaft has become a real mystery. The team hired the Dumas Mining Company to excavate and renovate the shaft so Marty and Rick could go down 95 feet and take a look. However, by the time all the relevant permits had been received, we were into Season 11 before the real work could start. Since then, they've found wood that dates back to before the initial discovery of the Money Pit, and they've recovered wood with a high concentration of gold traces. The Dumas guys drilled to about 95 feet and began probe drilling to the side of the shaft, looking for an offset chamber. Marty has long believed that the treasure is deposited in a secret offset chamber, and he thought it may have been hidden beside the garden shaft. In the first episode of 2024, the guys even found a small chamber, but unfortunately, it was only filled with a few old planks. In December 2023, the team received the results of the Muon Topography Survey, a fantastic piece of technology that mapped the island under the surface. The technology, likened to giving the island a medical X-ray, failed to reveal any large chambers near the garden shaft. Undeterred, the guys plowed on, and in a March 2024 episode, they finally got to that 95-foot deep tunnel. This, too, turned into a bit of a damp squib because the tunnel turned out to not be a tunnel, but just a series of planks. The guys said it looked like someone had removed the tunnel's walls and ceiling. Work ceased on the Oak Island Garden Shaft due to flooding. Can it be salvaged? The team planned to continue following the tunnel's suspected course, but a couple of weeks later, water began rushing in at a terrific rate. The Dumas guys were forced to abandon the shaft, which became unstable due to the volume of water. The Fellowship wondered if they'd hit a booby trap, an ancient flood tunnel that is activated whenever anyone gets too close to the treasure. Unfortunately, the shaft remains a mystery, and the guys seem no closer to learning its function. The question remains for the Curse of Oak Island Season 12. Can the garden shaft be salvaged? The short answer is probably. But do the Lagina brothers believe it's worth the cost? The guys have already spent a lot of time and money on the garden shaft. Frankly, they do not have much to show for it. As I write, the blogger at Oak Island from the other side of the causeway has posted several pictures from the island showing heavy machinery arriving. Among the machinery, there appears to be equipment that could be used to pump water out of a large garden shaft-like shaft. But there's no way to confirm that as yet. You can be sure that Marty and Rick will pursue any hint of treasure down there. On the storied grounds of Oak Island, nestled in Nova Scotia's Mahone Bay, there lies a seemingly unassuming hole known as the Garden Shaft. But for the Fellowship of the Dig, Rick Lagina, Marty Lagina, and their team of intrepid explorers, this shaft has become a focal point of intense interest, historical theorizing, and potentially groundbreaking discoveries. As Season 11 of The Curse of Oak Island unfolded, the Garden Shaft emerged not just as another dig site, but as a potential doorway to solving a mystery that has endured for over 200 years. But what exactly has the Fellowship discovered there? And now that their permits and budget are tight, will they continue excavating? Let's dig into the dirt-covered truths and tantalizing possibilities. The garden shaft wasn't just randomly selected. It lies tantalizingly close to the theorized location of the original Money Pit, the legendary site where a mysterious treasure was allegedly buried deep underground in 1795. Over the decades, countless efforts to uncover the treasure have been thwarted by booby traps, flood tunnels, and collapse after collapse. The garden shaft, rediscovered and refurbished during recent seasons, seemed to line up precisely with several clues the team had been following for years, including seismic data, old maps, and the trajectory of mysterious underground tunnels. While it wasn't originally dug by the Fellowship, the garden shaft was repurposed and fortified to become the launching point for a series of underground explorations. What they found shocked even the most skeptical team members. Unexpected finds deep below. As the team dug deeper, literally and figuratively, into the garden shaft's story, they began unearthing more than just old timber and stagnant water. 1. Tunnel systems aligned with Templar theory. Perhaps the most intriguing discovery was a network of tunnels appearing to fan out from the garden shaft at various depths. Through borehole drilling and sonar imaging, the Fellowship uncovered what they believe are man-made tunnels leading toward key areas on the island. These tunnels correspond with centuries-old legends of the Knights Templar, who allegedly crossed the Atlantic with sacred relics and hid them in the New World. 2. Tool marks and shaft construction evidence. What set the garden shaft apart from other sites was the evidence of old pickaxe marks and structural engineering beyond what was typical for 18th or even 19th century treasure hunters. Some experts brought in by the Laginas even suggested the shaft may have been part of a deeper and older operation, possibly predating the Money Pit excavation of 1795. 3. Carbon dating revelations. Wood samples taken from beams inside the shaft returned surprising carbon dating results, with some suggesting a construction window in the mid-1600s. That's well before the earliest known treasure hunting expeditions, suggesting whoever built this shaft may have known exactly where they were digging and why. 4. Strange artifacts and theories. From fragments of leather and parchment to metallic anomalies detected near tunnel intersections, the garden shaft has become a hotbed for speculation. Could it be connected to the fabled treasure vault? Some theorists suggest it's an access point or even a diversionary shaft built to throw off looters. The Fellowship's big dilemma. While the garden shaft yielded fascinating clues, it also came with a high cost. Excavation at this depth, particularly with the safety upgrades required by Canadian mining regulations, proved both time-consuming and expensive. With permits from the Department of Natural Resources needing regular renewal and scrutiny, the team faced delays that sometimes brought work to a standstill. By the end of Season 11, it was clear the Fellowship was at a crossroads. Should they keep digging deeper into the garden shaft, possibly toward a hidden treasure vault, or shift their focus elsewhere on the island? Marty Lagina has often been the voice of logic, pushing for evidence before emotion. He voiced concern over budget and diminishing returns. Rick, ever the romantic and dreamer, has continued to believe the garden shaft may be the key. In the finale, the brothers had a heated but heartfelt conversation, with Rick saying, "If we stop now, we may never know how close we truly were." The rest of the team, including heavy hitters like Charles Barkhouse, Doug Crowell, and archaeologist Miriam Amaralt, remain cautiously optimistic. With new scanning technology being introduced and legal pathways potentially reopening for deeper mining, hope remains alive. Will they continue excavating? All signs point to yes, but with caveats. According to production updates and teasers from Gary Drayton's social media posts, the team has secured additional support for Season 12. They plan to return to the garden shaft, though their approach may be more targeted and cautious. Rather than large-scale digging, the focus could shift to laser scanning, micro-drilling, and robotic exploration. The Fellowship is also considering creating lateral tunnels from the garden shaft outward toward known anomalies, a strategy that could uncover treasure without compromising safety or violating environmental guidelines. Moreover, advances in AI-driven modeling may allow the team to virtually reconstruct what lies beneath the surface before making their next major dig decision.